I've already said my piece on the movies. I think they're fine, but I don't think they're as great as people think they are. But here we're going to be looking at both the books and the movies and the question of the Witch King and who or what killed the Witch King. So canonically, we all know it's Eowyn, but how did she do it and what are the circumstances? Because the Witch King is very unique even among the Nazgul. So we need to know who are the Nazgul, why were they so vulnerable at certain points, so intelligent at certain points, but also so stupid at other points, and what was their strategy or plan? And also, did the films mess this up? Do they work with the canon or against it? So let's start off with, well, who or what is the Witch King? And the answer is simple, we don't know. We only know that Sauron, having created the Nine Rings for men, and they later became corrupted and became his slaves. So the short answer is the Witch King once was a man. We don't know who that man is. Not all the writers are anonymous. One of them does have a name, but not the Witch King. So in terms of the Witch King's origins, we don't know. We only know he was once a man and became a slave of Sauron, but he's extremely powerful. In terms of his death, we know Glorfindel foresaw his end. And Glorfindel, Gandalf explains, he's someone who can dwell in both realms. The realm of the seen, the realm of the unseen. That's not picked up a lot by a lot of even Tolkien readers, but the distinction between seen and unseen is very powerful. There are many people who can do it, but you have to know who they are. So it's an exceptional ability. Galadriel, Gandalf, the wizards. So technically Saruman should be able to do this. And the Nazgul in the unseen world, of course, are sort of in darkness. They prefer the dark. In fact, the Witch King's nickname is the Black Captain. If you're a creature who can dwell within both worlds, you have a lot of power. So Glorfindel, in his, quote, unseen form, can sort of manifest light. He prophesizes the Witch King will be killed, but not at the hand of a man. And the Witch King seems to be aware of this too. That brings up various puzzles, namely when Aragorn engages with the Nazgul to help Frodo and the hobbits. The Nazgul flee. So that's an interesting question. Would the Witch King be vulnerable to Aragorn? Well, it only says death, so the Witch King presumably can be hurt, and Aragorn is very powerful. He also has some magical abilities, but he can't be killed. And with somebody much stronger like Gandalf, or even Galadriel, could they kill the Witch King? The answer seems to be no. They could neutralize him. They could render him impotent, right? Just stop him. So if he's going after the ring or one of the hobbits, they could just step in his way and just force him back, but they couldn't kill him. And the Witch King in the books does seem to sense the ring at various points. It's an interesting question. Why didn't they go for the ring earlier? Why weren't they able to sense the ring, at least at the right time? Again, a lot of questions. But now turning to the death itself with Eowyn, it's not really correct to say Eowyn killed the Witch King. It seems to be a confluence of events. One, it's Merry, right? So there's a hobbit, who technically is a not man. There's also a powerful magical blade that they used. And then there's the fact that Eowyn, yes, is a female. But I think even here people misunderstand that, especially if you're a modern reader or a fan of the films, because I do think the films do indulge in this. And basically they're framing Eowyn as a kind of feminist. Her being a kind of Buffy the Vampire style heroine is fine. It doesn't contradict the lore, but that's not the intention. What Tolkien was trying to do was make an allusion, a very clever allusion to Macbeth, because in Macbeth is also prophesied to die, but in a certain manner. So he basically wanted to do several things at once, and Tolkien cleverly slipped in this kind of reference to Macbeth through the Witch King, and how he would be fated to die, not as he expected. Right? It's supposed to be a lot of dramatic irony that he doesn't know that, yes, you're immune from man, but you're not facing a man. You're facing a hobbit, and you're facing a woman. You're going to die. But still, as much as I'm critical of the films, I do think the design of the Nazgul and the Witch King make a lot of sense. But there still are some puzzles, because the way that Jackson frames it, the Nazgul do engage the hobbits, but not the Witch King. And the Witch King does seem set apart with his crown, and that's also in the books, right? He does have a steel crown. But again, at certain points you think to yourself, well, does he take off the crown? Does he look like the other Nazgul at times? There's still a lot of questions here about how the Witch King works in the movies, because he doesn't seem to be able to sense the ring. He would be able to know, well, wait a minute, we're on the wrong track, especially with Strider around, or Aragorn, right? People think that they did go into the inn and try to take the ring themselves. That's not what the books say. Aragorn actually hypothesizes they're not going to do that. In other words, they already have human spies or agents. They're going to try to attack us, but not the Nazgul, at least not directly at that point in the story. But in the movies, they're shown to be sort of try to be directly confrontational. that's not necessarily their way all the time. So again, a lot of questions in terms of the strategies and the way Jackson adapted The Witch King. But overall, I do think it's respectable what he did. It doesn't contradict the lore, but it is somewhat deceptive framing in the way it's shot or the way the prophecy plays out. It is true it's about a not man, but I think he missed the kind of Shakespearean undertone, or even, honestly, the irony of the Witch King being killed off, or being himself aware of the prophecy, but not understanding its full implications. There's also a lot more things going on with the lore, because the way he's killed and where he's killed is very critical, because essentially these lands were gifted by past allies hundreds of years ago. So in a lot of ways, his death was predetermined, but he didn't understand that. So we asked the question, what killed the Witch King? It's really three things: powerful blade, powerful woman, and the lucky intervention of a hobbit. Then again, in some ways this was predetermined by the compassion of various allies from hundreds of years ago, which apparently the Witch King was blind to or didn't care, to his peril. And there we are with the death of the Witch King and the Tolkien lore. Thanks for listening.